This would be the 7th major loss of civilian life in the bombing campaign. According to Belgrade, most of those killed were on a bus travelling from Pec in Kosovo to the neighbouring Republic of Montenegro at around midday. The attack comes after last night's raids, in which a new type of weapon was used for the first time to knock out electricity supplies across large parts of Serbia. The bombs exploded above transformer yards, releasing a cloud of graphite which short-circuited the high-voltage power lines.
Another bombed-out bus, more scenes of devastation. It's not clear yet how this happened, but a Greek camera crew brought back these horrific images, many of which are too gruesome to show. 17 people died, according to Belgrade, and dozens were injured. The attack came as some of those killed in Saturday's disastrous bombing by NATO were being buried. Yugoslav officials say that more than 40 died in this attack on a bridge. More missiles went off target, but fortunately did not explode. For at least the second time in this campaign, they hit a neighbouring country. This time it was Macedonia. It's thought they were fired by an American A-10 tank-busting plane. Meanwhile, in Germany, the 3 US soldiers freed by Belgrade at the weekend were reunited with their families. The man who engineered their release, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, flew into Andrews Air Force Base near Washington tonight and had strong words about the airstrikes.
In Yugoslavia, we are not fighting soldiers yet. We are unintentionally killing civilians, which we call collateral damage.
US President Bill Clinton spoke tonight for the first time about the possibility of a pause in the bombing, if NATO was convinced that Belgrade was committed to a fundamental change of policy in Kosovo.
Our conditions for ending the bombing are not complicated. The Kosovars must be able to go home with security and self-government. Serbian security forces must leave Kosovo. An international security force must deploy with the power not just to monitor, but to protect all the people of Kosovo, Albanians and Serbs alike.
Also in Washington to meet the US President is Russia's special envoy, Viktor Chernomyrdin. He arrived at the White House in the last hour for the latest in a series of meetings he's had with leaders on Kosovo in recent days. Walt Kilroy, RTE News.
On a visit to a refugee camp in northern Macedonia today, the British Prime Minister reaffirmed the West's commitment to ending ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. Mr Blair also said the British government was doubling its aid to the country to £40 million. And on the second day of her visit to the region, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Mary Robinson, urged the Irish government to bring forward its intake of refugees. From the Stenkovac refugee camp in Macedonia, Tony Connolly sent this report.
Mary Robinson has again been hearing at first hand from Kosovar Albanians horrendous accounts of ethnic cleansing, murder and torture at the hands of Serb police. Today at Senikos camp, 30 kilometres from the Macedonian capital, Mrs Robinson pledged to mobilise all the offices of the international community to pursue the perpetrators of human rights violations in Kosovo.
We must also tackle bullies, tackle those who are responsible for human rights violations, and that's why documenting the human rights evidence is so important, and we need to pinpoint who is responsible right up the chain.
There was also a message for the Irish government.
Ireland as yet has not taken a single refugee in practical terms, so they've offered to take 1,000, and I think it would be good to see that number go up very dramatically in the next week or so.
Mrs Robinson also met the International Tribunal on War Crimes to help coordinate both documented cases of human rights violations and any evidence that has emerged. Meanwhile, at Stenkovac camp, refugees were waiting for yet another very important visitor. Like the 9 other camps in Macedonia, this one is overflowing, and there are fears now of an outbreak of serious disease as the sheer numbers take their toll and the weather gets hotter. But that was far from the minds of those waiting to meet Britain's Tony Blair, the latest Prime Minister to visit the area.